students, I'm Dr. Anandi. Welcome to my channel Make Biology Simple. In today's video, we are going to see about the topic isoenzymes. So we are going to see the different types of isoenzymes and their diagnostic purpose and what is the use in the clinical studies.
First we'll see what is the introduction about the isoenzymes. As I told you, it is a physically distinct forms of same enzyme activity. That means that it is having different types of structure and subunits but having the same enzyme activity. And it is also different in the molecular forms of the same enzyme synthesized from the various tissue. And what is the significance of isoenzymes when he talked about? It is very important in the diagnosis of the disease. So that also gives an idea about in which organ it origins. So that also gives how the organs are functioning. If there is any defect in the organs, the diagnosis or the estimation of these enzymes will give an idea about the functioning of the organs. So that is the main significance of isoenzymes. And as the isoenzymes is having different subunits, if the subunits are same, they are called as homomultiplier. If the subunits are different, they are called heteromultiplier. So multiplier means it is having more than one unit, and hetero means different. So that's why it is called its name as heteromultiplier. Homo means all the subunits are same. So the main purpose of isoenzymes information what we are going to see today is it is going to understand the disease, and it is also helpful for the diagnosis of the disease. As these enzymes are having many subunits, we have to find out which subunit or which isoenzyme which subtype is going to be increased, or how we are going to interference is also become a very confusion. So that's why identification is very important. So identification means, say for example, in lactodehydrogenase, that's an enzyme coming under the isoenzyme which has 5 different types, LDH1 to LDH5. So we have to find out which LDH is increased, LDH1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. So among these 5, which one is increased or which one is decreased? How will you find out? By identification. So what is identification? Finding out which subtype or which group is going to be increased. So for that, the first and the foremost way of identifying is your separation in the agarose gel. So separation in agarose gel means based on the molecular weight, protein is having a weight which is measured in kilodaltons, and when you separate in a page or agar, mostly page will do. So page is nothing but polyacrylate gel electrophoresis. So in that, based on their molecular weight, it will move in different distance. So based on the distance movement, we can able to identify which subtype is there and which is increased, and all this information we'll get it from the agarose gel or in the page. And then the nature of the enzyme, for example ALP. So ALP, when it is having a nature of heat, it is denatured by the heat. Mostly all the proteins are denatured by heat, we know very well. It is called as denaturation. It's stable. Stable means it can withstand the high temperature and it won't lose the activity. So that is one of the way we can identify the isoenzymes. The other one is inhibitors. Inhibitors means which will stop the reaction, or which will bind with the enzyme and it stops the reaction. So inhibitors also there. For example, acid phosphatase is inhibited by it's labile with the tartrate. So that means it's not sensitive. It will be withstand with the inhibitor. And the next foremost important is Km value. So Km is nothing but constant value of the enzymes. And we know very well, and one enzyme will have a one substrate. That's a concept. And we have multiple enzymes also. Multiple enzyme means complex enzymes which are doing a set of reactions that we can able to find out in the fatty acid synthesis. Here glucokinase is there and hexokinase is hexokinases enzyme. So both are kinase, that means both are going to add the phosphate to the substrate, and thereby the product will form a phosphate compound. But here you can see hexose and here you can see glucose. So this glucose kinase, and the difference between these two is glucose kinase will bind only to the glucose, but hexokinase will bind to any other monosaccharides, say for example galactose, mannose, fructose. So it is not specific. So specificity of the enzyme is very important. So the Km value determines the specificity. Here, higher the Km value is lesser than the specificity. You will need some coenzymes, for example NAD, FAD, then pyruvate CoA, acetyl CoA, and all this will coming under the coenzyme. Cofactors means for some of the reaction we need Fe, calcium, Ca2 plus, Mg2 plus, like that. So many cofactors are there. React with along with the coenzyme, it will convert the substrate to the product. So based on the cofactor also we can able to identify. So one among us example is, here you can see isocitrate dehydrogenase. So both are enzymes only, but location, when it is present in the mitochondrial, it is depending upon NAD plus cofactor, coenzyme. It is not cofactor, it is coenzyme. So when the same enzyme is located in the cytoplasmic or cytosol, it is depending upon NADP. So NADP dependent. So based on the cofactor also we can able to identify. So these are the various ways we can identify the isoenzymes or any other enzymes based on these factors. Now synthesis. So synthesis, we know that basically any enzymes, it is belong to a protein. So it definitely depend upon the DNA. So DNA gets replicated and transcribed and then translated. So some of the enzymes are simple enzymes. For example, salivary and pancreatic amylase, both are isoenzymes. They are located in different genes and then having more than one locus. So they are synthesized and then it is translation takes place in the cytoplasm, and there the protein is getting transported to the site where it is going to act. It's located from one place to another place via the transporter blood. So these enzymes can be synthesized with the help of the gene which is located in different locus. So this is simple type. So some of the enzymes are getting modified before they are converted to a functional one. Say for example, here in this the enzymes should add with the sialic acid. Example is alkaline phosphatase. Sialic acid is not a protein, so it has to be added along with the ALP. So this is called post-translation modification. One of the steps is additional of some of monosaccharides or carbohydrate or lipids should be there. So that finally then only this ALP will become an active or functional one. So there are simple way of synthesis as well as complex one. So synthesis is definitely on the gene where it is located. For example, pancreas, saliva, liver, kidney. So like that the position or the place where it carries a gene will produce that protein. So synthesis, what we are talking about here is synthesis may be simple or it will be complex. Complex means additional compounds will be attached in the post translation step. So this is what the synthesis of enzymes I want to express. And next, so this is an important slide giving an idea about the whole class, what we are going to discuss later. So what is coenzymes or isozymes? The enzymes that occur in a number of different forms and differ from each other chemically, immunologically and electrophoretically. This electrophoretically only I discussed under the identification. Say for example, page. Where it is located? So mostly the isoenzymes present in the serum. Serum means in the blood and in the tissues. The tissues means the organs. Say for example, liver, brain, kidney, intestine. Like this, so many organs are there where it is originated. So last slide we have seen synthesis. So the position of the gene where it is located, there it is produced and started the function. So that is the occurrence. The next thing is example. So what are the examples coming under isoenzymes? Very important thing is you have to remember, very good example is lactate dehydrogenase. Lactate dehydrogenase. The asterisks are isoenzymes or isozymes. The other enzymes are clinically diagnostic enzymes. Lactate dehydrogenase, creatine kinase is an isozyme, alkaline phosphatase is an isoenzyme, and the gamma glutamyl transpeptidase is also an isoenzyme. One more example is amylase. So the rest of them is very important enzymes which is used in the diagnostic purpose. One is acid phosphatase, the other one is SGOT or SGPT. So when you call about SGOT, the other name is also there. It is called aspartate aminotransferase. We know very well how an enzyme got its name, either from the substrate or the product which is going to be produced, and the type of reaction it is going to act. Based on that, it got its name. Aspartate means the substrate. Amino means the function, what the reaction is going to do. It is going to transfer the amino group. So transferase means the enzyme is going to transfer something. What is going to transfer something? The amino group. From which part? Aspartate. So that's why it has got its name as aspartate aminotransferase. Means the location. The enzyme is mostly present in the serum. Glutamate is another substrate. This is the only enzyme, SGOT and PT. A set of products and set of substrates are there. So a set of amino acid are converted to keto acid, and thereby the keto acid are getting the amino group and transferred to a amino acids. So that is the main feature or the specificity of these two enzymes, SGOT and PT. So coming back, it is nothing but serum, glutamate, oxaloacetate, transaminase. So here I told you aspartate. O is here is oxaloacetate. It's a keto acid and it is an amino acid. A set of substrate is involved. One amino acid, one keto acid. So this is very important. Before once we are studying any enzyme, we should know the full details of it. So otherwise we can't able to follow up the rest of the points in what we are going to study. So that's why I'm stressing this example clearly. The next example is alanine transferase or SGPT. So this is another enzyme which is also involved in the diagnostic purpose. Alanine means the substrate, alanine amino acid, and here the pyruvate is keto acid. So you can see here aspartate is amino acid and oxaloacetate is keto acid. Here alanine is amino acid and pyruvate is keto acid. Serum, glutamate, pyruvate, transaminases. So the enzyme is going to transfer something. That's transfer is nothing but amino group. So coming back, we have to be very clear with the example of isoenzymes. One is lactate dehydrogenase, the next one is creatine kinase and alkaline phosphatase, amylase and gamma glutamyl transferase. For today's session, we are going to see the example detailed about the lactate dehydrogenase. So lactate dehydrogenase is coming under the isozymes or isoenzymes. So before we are going to see the structure and the detail and diagnostic purpose and all, first we have to know what is going to do. The main the reaction is very important. So the reaction is lactate. That's why it is called. I told you the name of the substrate and what type of reaction it's going to do. By this it got its name. The enzyme name is lactate dehydrogenase. Dehydrogenase, that means it is removing an hydrogen group. From where? Lactate. So lactate is converted to pyruvate with the help of this enzyme lactate dehydrogenase. I told you a hydrogen is removed. Now when hydrogen is removed, what happened? Something should be there to carry that. Here the coenzymes come. See, NAD is in the oxidized form. So now from the lactate, hydrogen, this means H1H plus. So it is called hydride. We don't call it as hydrogen, hydride. Hydride meaning is it is having 2 electrons and 1 proton. And see, one more proton is free form. It will be always nearby to the coenzyme, but it is not involved in the structure of NADH. So that's why it's called hydride. So we know lactate, H2. H2 means it contains 2 proton, 2 electron. And here NADH is having 2 electron and 1 proton in the form of hydride. So the remaining H plus is free in the free form. It is moving in ion form in the circulation. So this is very important a step. We should know detail about the lactate lactate dehydrogenase activity. It's a three-dimensional view of lactate dehydrogenase. You can see pink color and the light shade of this, and then molecules. This is nothing but the blue color, green color is the lactate, and this coiled structure is the enzyme. So the enzyme will hold your substrate and it convert into a product. So that's why it's shown here to give a representation how the lactate dehydrogenase looks. And the very important thing is, for the diagnostic purposes, we should know the normal value. The normal value is 100 to 200 units per liter. 100 to 200 units per liter. So unit per liter is a way of representing the enzyme activity. That means this much milligrams of protein of substrate is converted to a, this what is very important slide here. You can see that, as I told you, what is LDH? LDH is a oligomeric. Oligomeric means having more than 3 or 4 subunits. And enzyme made up of 4 polypeptides. Polypeptides, you know that it is having more than 4 units. 4 units it carries. And 2 typical types of subunits named M. M represents muscle and H represents heart. So that is produced from the different gene. As I told you, simple synthesis. From the different gene of the locus, it is synthesized. So M subunit is basic, while H subunit is acidic. Acidic means it is having the pH less than 7. Basic means it is more than 7. So the isoenzyme contain either one or both the subunits. So that means the subunits may be same or it is mixed. So based on that, it is we can see that 5 different isoenzymes there for LDH. LDH1, LDH2, LDH3, LDH4 and LDH5. So this is the important way of representing the lactate dehydrogenase isoenzymes. So H for heart, M for muscle. And we can see where it is located. Location or the occurrence is very important. Its highest level is found in the following organs. We will see one by one. H4. Mostly the LDH is a tetramer. Tetramer means it is having 4 subunits and polypeptides. So here you can see all the 4 are H type. So that is why it got its name H4, or we can term as LDH1, lactate dehydrogenase 1. It is present in the heart, mostly in heart and next to kidney. And then next we can see that LDH2. LDH2 is having 3 H type and 1 M type. So you can see H3M. So totally it is 4 peptides, tetramer. So it is having 3 H and 1 M. Where it is present, it is occurred in the red blood cells, heart, kidney and brain. And next type is LDH3. LDH3 is having equally sharing 2 heart types and 2 muscle types. And you can also say it is H2 and M2. And where it is located in the brain, lung and WBCs. That is white blood cells. And the 4th type is having 1 heart type and 3 muscle type. So HM3. And where it is located, it is present in the lung and the skeletal muscle. And then last one is LDH5 type, and all the subunits are made up of M. So it is present in the skeletal muscle and liver. So this is very important thing we have to remember. We have to remember, first thing is what the enzyme is doing, and second thing, what is that subunits it's made up of, and how many types are there, and where it is present. If you know all these information and very well, then we can able to diagnose the disease. How many types are there? So how can I identify which enzyme is increased, which enzyme is decreased when you take the sample and estimate it? So as I told you, this is a page, polyacrylate gel electrophoresis, where you can see the peaks. Here it is peaks, but usually we'll observe the bands in the gel. So this least, the most molecular weight is least is LDH5. And then one LDH4, then is LDH3, and the uppermost is LDH1. So when we run, this may be act as a normal or a standard. So when you run the patient serum along with this, you can able to see the bands. So which band is more and which band is dense, and so based on that we can able to find out, okay, in this person LDH3 is increased, or LDH4 is increased, or LDH1 is increased. If you find out any one of this is increased, then we can easily predict the diagnosis, or we can easily say which organ is getting damaged based on the location. See, you can see this all things are there. So if it is LDH4 5 means you can say skeletal muscle or liver disease. So very important thing is identification of the enzyme is there. Of course, estimation we will do. Most of them are not going for identification. So we have a very advanced method or technology is there to find out. This is a very old method, but that is very, very important also. So coming to the diagnosis. So first and the foremost biomarker for the myocardial infarction is LDH. So whenever the person is having myocardial infarction we know very well, it is the heart muscle wall is getting damaged where LDH is dependent. So when you have this myocardial infarction, definitely the doctors will advise to estimate or diagnose or go for the estimation of LDH, because it's a biomarker. So biomarker for the heart muscle, and you know that heart muscle, all these subunits are heart type. So heart is the main organ. So when you have this myocardial infarction, they definitely advise for the LDH estimation. And see that this graph is very important. Like most of the enzymes, you can't see that it is immediately increased and decreased. But in the myocardial infarction, the onset of the increase of the enzyme, that means we have seen the normal value 100 to 200 units per liter. It goes beyond that. Say here you have said that 5 to 10 times is there increased. So what happened? See that here the onset is only on the first day, second day, third day, fourth day, and then only it comes to the normal value. Fifth day, sixth day, till 10th day, it will be keep on decreasing and comes to the normal value. So the peak value of increase is 48 to 72 hours. That means from the second day to third day, it will be in the peak. It will be increased in the higher quantity, the LDH level. And the other specificity of the myocardial infarction is you can also estimate creatine kinase. So you can see that LDH is not only the biomarker for the heart disease, but you can see also aspartate transaminases, AST or SGOT, and SCK, creatine kinase. So we have to estimate the three enzymes, creatine kinase, aspartate transaminase and LDH on increase. So this is a very good example we can use for the diagnostics of the myocardial infarction. And apart from that, these LDH is also present in the RBC, WBC, skeletal muscles, liver, even kidney. So based on that, it is also increased. So you can see this total LDH is increased in hemolytic jaundice. So jaundice means you know that hepatitis virus will affect the liver, and thereby liver is a one where the heme get after 120 days of life cycle of the heme, that means RBC, it has destroyed or degraded in the liver. But in hemolytic jaundice, what happened? Without the end of lifetime, that is 120 days, most of the RBC is getting dehydrolyzed or degraded. What happened here? The porphyrin ring of the heme will get converted to bilirubin. That is the root how it is degraded or catabolized. So it will be converted to a bilirubin, and from bilirubin will converted to conjugated, unconjugated, and then enter the the pancreas and then bile duct, and thereby it converted to urobilinogen in the urine, and that means in the kidneys, and it is excreted as urobilinogen as well as stercobilin. This is a normal route of catabolism of the heme. But here more of heme is getting lysed. So that's why it is called hemolytic jaundice. And the next one, hepatocellular damage. Hepatocellular means the hepatic cells, the liver cells, if there is any damage, then also this enzyme is increased. Then muscular dystrophy, it is a muscle disorder. Carcinoma, the cancer to the muscles or the cancer to the liver. And then leukemia, WBC, cancer type, and necrosis of bodies. These are the very good inference for the increase of LDH. And the last one is the clinical application of LDH. So far we have seen that LDH 1, 2 are elevated in the 24 to 48 hours after the myocardial infarction. And then even myoblastic anemia, when there you have anemic like thing when which is belong to the folate and vitamin B12 deficiency, then RBC lysis. So that is also root cause for the increase of LDH. And in the muscle dystrophy also it is increased. And liver disease, either carcinoma, liver cancer, whatever, and this is be LDH5 is increased. Then leukemia, LDH2 and LDH3 is increased. And in the kidney, LDH is increased in the urine. Mostly it won't be coming in the urine, but in the case of kidney, that is chronic glomerulonephritis, LDH is also increased. And then in the hemorrhage in the neonates, that means in the babies, cerebrospinal fluid, we have LDH is increased. So these are the main. We have seen that a brain is also the one of the carrier of the LDH, that means the location. So based on the presence of the location of these enzymes, so many types of disease we can able to diagnose for the single enzyme LDH. So of course first and the foremost is myocardial infarction, next RBC lysis, that is here like anemia, and then muscle dystrophy, liver disease, then leukemia, and chronic glomerulonephritis, and intracranial hemorrhage in the case of neonates. So these are the various diseases where you can diagnose the LDH. So that is nothing but clinical application of LDH. So that's all about in today's